This is the first time in about a week that I've had more than one person in here. So I got Rach joining me on the morning wake up, and now I've got a bunch of really talented musicians who have just been setting up. They're part of the Gateway Church, part of Gateway Aotearoa, based in Hamilton. And these cool cats have made the trip into Auckland this morning, and we appreciate that. So Nick is a key spokesman this morning. Good morning, Nick.
I don't know how I got nominated, but everybody pointed the finger at me. So here I am.
Now, Rachel and I had a crack, and we want to be respectful because I just called you Nick, but I want to call you by your full name to say where you're from. Gateway Aotearoa. Shall I give it a crack?
You want to say my full
No,
name?
you go, because I don't want to wreck it.
Jan Nicholas Krenslin.
See,
That's not how I thought it was pronounced.
and that's not even how I would have done it too. So
Wait, say it again. Kranzlin.
Krenslin.
Kranzlin.
Where's that from?
Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what brought you over here to Aotearoa?
To study music, actually. Yeah.
You didn't want to go back home?
No.
Was that intentional?
Why would you leave? Yeah.
To stay here, or
Yes.
just to come over and study music?
Both. I
What-
mean, why would you leave New Zealand once you moved here?
I could give you a few. Okay, so what was the attraction about Aotearoa?
Well, my family had moved here, and there was a music degree being offered in Hamilton. So we moved there, did that, and then that's where I started at Gateway Church as well, and been there ever since.
How
with
long
these
ago was that?
fabulous people. 15, 18 years ago.
Wow.
Now. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I've got a beautiful Kiwi wife from Aotearoa and 3 kids, and Hamilton's
Congrats.
home. Yeah.
Congratulations. Okay, so things got a bit serious for Gateway Church and Gateway Aotearoa through the pandemic because you're part of a wider group, right? Can you talk us through that process?
I mean, I think it was a serious time for everybody. I think, everybody had to reevaluate what it meant to be the gathered church during the pandemic. So, the big question was, did we do online content? Did we try and replicate a gathering digitally for people to engage with at home? And initially, we didn't do anything, I think, in the way of, musical worship. We just did messages and did Spotify playlists. But then as the pandemic dragged on and we realized it was going to be longer than a sort of 4 to 6 week sort of scenario, that personal connection was really being lost and felt by our community. So we started doing iPhone videos in our living rooms and then, gradually progressed to doing more sort of band stuff as the years ticked over. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And I know that lockdown and COVID especially are really hard times. Like I remember sitting at home watching church online and just being like, this is not it. But your songs have a lot of inspiration behind them and themes and messages, which can be super encouraging for people. Like, what are you aiming to convey through your music?
Well, that's a really good question. I think the song that we'd love to sing for you in a moment is the Lord's Prayer, basically. And I mean, the whole project, the album that we've called is called All Things New. And it's just for us really indicative of what we feel God's doing in our community, but I think maybe beyond our community as well. I think we live in this space that we often call the tension between the now and the not yet. We feel like there's a space that is being redeemed and that is being restored. And in the space of the Lord's Prayer, as we sing into it, it's a very familiar passage of Scripture. It's something that we talk about and almost recite, and we know the words. But sometimes I find myself saying it in quite a passive way. And as we were writing this particular song, there was a real intensity around it, and there was a sense of a declarative sort of almost singing something into being, and an awareness that His name isn't hallowed in every space of our lives and our community and us as individuals. And so there's a real powerful proclamation around, Lord, let your name be hallowed in our community, in our personal lives, in our families, and in the spaces around us. So I think it's been a real pivotal central song for us, and it's one of the first ones that we've introduced into our gatherings, and it's been really quite heavy as we've done that, but also very life-giving.
We'll talk about the album in just a little bit, but you mentioned community more than once in what you just said there, Nick. When we talk to musicians, there's always an experience that helps them write and develop music. Anecdotally, maybe you've had real life experiences from somebody or people coming up to you in the community and saying, oh, that really touched me and this is why it touched me. Have you got any of those experiences from people?
Yeah, I think I mean, probably more the process. We've only just started engaging with the community around these songs recently in terms of like actually singing them in our gatherings. But the process of writing them took us probably about 3 years, through the pandemic. We had a large group of people who were all keen to be part of this. And so we used the process to really talk and teach songwriting, and it drew us together as a community in that process. And so for me, the process was probably as life-giving as actually then capturing the songs in our community at a gathering. And that in itself was kind of cool because I assumed we were going to do it in the studio in a controlled environment and just, refine and perfect the performance, the songs. But a good friend who is a producer as well encouraged us to actually do it in a live context of a gathering and saying, why would you take these songs into a controlled environment outside of your normal gatherings and try and perfect them? Why don't you actually capture them live with your people, with your community? And so we did, and I'm so glad we did, because it was really special, it was really significant. And only now I'd say we're starting to feel the sense of those stories that you're talking about when people are like, wow, that now having the ability to have that song on a recording and be able to listen to it in my car, at work, wherever, those songs are really ministering to me outside of our gathered context, which is exactly what we were hoping for.
Oh, we get to benefit from all of that as well. So we were rapt that you're able to bring it into the community.
Yeah, definitely. Excited to hear some. You talked a lot about COVID and sort of some of the hard times that you went through with that. Were there any like specific moments or perhaps experiences that you had that sort of directly influenced any of your songs?
Yep. I think if we talked about a song in particular that impacted us, there was a song that's come out on this project called Under the Shadow. And I think in the middle of the pandemic, there was a lot of anxiety, there was a lot of chaos, a lot of uncertainty. And that song really sings and speaks of a sheltering protection and a sense of calm in the midst of the storm. And also, there's a beautiful portion in the bridge where we talked about it being like the father going into bear mode. It's just like when somebody comes and attacks a mother bear's cubs, the bear goes absolutely ape on it, and comes to their rescue. And that song was really pivotal, I think, and partly born out of that COVID sort of time, of like individuals, but also people within groups in the community feeling a sense of crushing anxiety and a sense of chaos and confusion in this global pandemic, having a sense of almost being enveloped in a shelter, in a place of refuge. So that would probably be the one that I'd point to, yeah.
I don't see you as being a big grizzly bear. more like a cub. Well, maybe even polar bear.
Sure, mess with my kids though, and you'd see a different guy come out.
I bet. Okay, hang tight. Before we get to you and your jam, I asked you off here, are you a band? Or what's going on? What would you call you guys?
Well, it's such an unusual question for us because we are, a group of your classic, church worship musicians who just happen to think, well, we've been singing other people's songs for decades now, It would be very fitting for us to get together as a bunch of creatives and songwriters and do something with our own songs. And so this was a humble attempt to do that. And out of that, we're like, oh, okay, well, we should probably think about, what does this look like in terms of, we've used gardening analogy quite a lot, like this homegrown song. So we sort of see these songs very much as like seeds that, we're wanting to scatter, and hopefully that the songs, as much as they've resonated with us and blessed us, we really hope that they'll be a blessing to other people as well. And so thank you for this opportunity to help scatter some seeds, I suppose.
Oh, man. More than happy to be the water that fertilizes anything. You guys are doing all the work. With a big number. You're talking about over 30, right? What you're saying.
We are very blessed to have, there's 5 of us in here, but we represent a team of probably about 35 or so musicians. And so we're very blessed to have a great community of musicians who encourage one another and worship together and lead and facilitate worship for our people.
I mean, that's a blessing, having access to all those people, but I can imagine with a whole bunch of people, you get a whole bunch of ideas. Are you the shot caller, Nick? You're the shot caller, right?
It is my job, yeah, for sure. I love it. Honestly, I'm a great includer. I love drawing people together and finding resonant points in their story and journeying with them. I sometimes pinch myself when I think that sitting down and having coffee with Georgia or John, or even is part of my job. To be able to hang with them and journey with them. And then facilitate worship at church and bless a whole bunch of people. That's pretty cool.
I can tell you've had maybe a few coffees with John. He looks like one of those guys you need to have a few coffees with. Okay, where can people get your music?
We are on Spotify, so you can find us at Gateway Aotearoa, and the album is called All Things New.
And website, is there any?
Yep, you can find us at gatewaychurch.org.nz.